just waiting for Morning to let me know who is next in this. Here we go.
Hello.
Sway, how you doing, brother?
Not bad. How are you doing?
Not bad at all. What is your question?
Okay, it's a two-part question. I'll try and keep it short. What would people like for an idea? It's just an idea, but being centered around Azeroth as a whole. So like treat it like the Thundering Isles, where you can choose where to sort of progress and unlock different types of content and get themes for whatever zone you're progressing through.
Okay.
So you get like, you know, if you're going through Northrend, you get sort of themed Northrend cosmetics, or if you're going through Kalimdor or Eastern Kingdoms, anywhere in the old world, you get cosmetic rewards for that.
Okay, so
the second part.
Before you go to the second part, let's tackle the first part first. So basically what you're talking about is at max level, the ability to go to like back to older places and gather like cosmetic rewards from those older places that really is sort of themed around those places.
Yeah, and like from the answer you gave to an earlier question, like it could also tie into old stories that haven't been fleshed out before, so you can have like new quest change from them. Sorry. But then it might culminate into a bigger story arc.
So love the idea, because it first and foremost gives people a reason to go back to those old places, but not for the same shit that they've already done. So effectively what we would have here is you still have all of the cosmetic drops and mounts and pets and stuff that you used to have, say for example in Northrend. But if you decide to go back to Northrend, let's say through let's say we tie this to the Bronze Dragonflight and the Caverns of Time. Yeah. Now you enter into Northrend through the Caverns of Time to a Northrend that is now scaled up to your level. So you now have a more challenging experience within Northrend. And in that experience, you really allow the player to play. So you allow the player to experience the world. I almost want to... So this would be my idea. Have you ever played Final Fantasy, Sway?
A little bit when it first came out.
All right, so
sort of stuff.
There's 2 zones in Final Fantasy. Now, I've not done it yet, but I should be doing Eureka or Baja, whichever one is there. I should be doing it within the next month or so. But there's these zones. These are giant zones that were basically implemented to be completely parallel to the story. So they have their own sort of stories within them, and there's it's basically zones where you become a god, right? So you have these like overpowered abilities. You can't die. Everything becomes single cost or insta cost. Your spells and abilities hit for fucking millies and billies of damage. You can basically solo raid bosses, with the powers that you're given. So imagine if Blizzard went back and they said, all right, we are going to redesign a lot of our prior expansions in this way. So we're going to go back, and this is going to be maybe expansion by expansion. So we're not going to try and do it all of the expansions at once. Let's say, for example, we take Wrath first. We're going to redesign everything. We're going to scale it up. We're going to start giving you some astronomical powers and gear and stuff that really is only for Wrath of the Lich King. You'll be able to do all of the raids yourself, like solo all of the raids on the hardest difficulty, and while it will be a challenge, you'll still be really powerful, and there'll be world bosses and all the rest of it, and a bunch of other players playing through it as well. But as you progress through it, you can actually unlock new cosmetics that is very much death themed, and these cosmetics you can then use in the real world, in the open world as an example, and then maybe the next expansion they go, right, now we're going to do this with TBC, and the expansion after that they decide to do it with a couple of zones in Classic, maybe a couple more zones in Classic. Eventually you go back and you redo some of the Kata zones to be something similar. So I think you could absolutely do a system like that in World of Warcraft that gives people a nice little way of going back to the old world and really experiencing the old world, but also builds these sort of zones where people can play together and they can have fun in those zones, and those zones aren't really necessary to be done. There's no reason to be there other than crazy mounts and pets and cosmetics and all sorts of shit. I can see Blizzard doing that. We could implement a more muted version, which would be the version that you advocated for, which is simply to give us the ability to play through those zones again. But this time around, say for example, after every dungeon that you complete, you unlock a cosmetic item, and every raid that you complete, you unlock a cosmetic item, or maybe a new mount or a new pet or something like that. That's a more muted version of it, but why would we want muted? Games are meant to be fantastic, and I think it's time that we start sort of expecting Blizzard to give us fantastic, right?
Absolutely.
So that's sort of the first part, or did you have disagreements with what I said, or maybe clarifications with what I said before we move on to your second part?
Well, yeah, I mean, it was supposed to, so the general overview is that even though you got these stories happening in each of the continents, and you have your own sort of involvement in how things are shaped, to have through scenarios or things like that to award you with the cosmetics alongside unlocking other things ahead of time, and then it'll culminate in a dungeon, which in each of the zones might be something bigger behind the scenes, lore wise, which can then again unlock things along the way, and then culminate into a raid, and have some sort of reveal, and then take it from there lore wise. Yeah,
I mean, look, at the end of the day, I think your system sounds really cool. It has definite. So the thing that I would be most focused on in whether we go with your system or my system doesn't really matter to me. But what I want, and what I think World of Warcraft desperately needs, is content for the average casual player that isn't just having to go back. I have him as loud as I possibly can have him. I'll try to turn him up even more, guys. Okay, so I'm gonna try and turn him up a little bit more. Sway, can you quickly say something?
Hello, chat. How are you?
Can you guys hear him fine now? Can you repeat what you just said? The last, your last idea. What would that be? I have you as loud as I can possibly have you now.
So just an overview where people can progress through the continents that they want to do. They get rewards for doing so. They get to go through scenarios to unlock things. Which then culminates into a dungeon. There's a underlying thing in all of these. Get more rewards. Culminates into a raid, and it's sort of a grand realization of what's going on.
Yeah, I love the idea that you have there, because I think your idea can absolutely be merged with mine, where, say for example, you have Northrend, and we decide in Northrend what we want to do is we want to focus specifically on Icecrown. That's going to be the zone in which this new sort of experience takes place. When you get there for the first time, you're very weak, and then within an hour, you unlock crazy abilities that just make you stupidly fucking powerful, and you start going through it, and then you do scenarios with some of your friends or people that you meet there. Maybe there's a shit ton of open world bosses that you can fight, sort of really cool shit that then ultimately all of those scenarios will unlock a bunch of dungeons that maybe you've never seen before, or maybe it's sort of revamped dungeons that was present in Northrend at the time, and you go through those, and those culminate, say for example, in Naxxramas that everyone has to go do, and Naxxramas is completely leveled up, and everyone's powers is completely leveled up, so it's 5-man raids, right? It's a 5-man raid. But you do Naxxramas, and then you do Ulduar, and then you do ICC, and then at the end of that, you've just unlocked 50 different transmog pieces and mounts and pets and stuff that you can use now, that's now yours, right? Ultimately, the thing that I want to see more in World of Warcraft is simply casual content. That's it. As I said before, I want casuals to have things to do. So the other day, I had someone on Twitter literally reply to me saying that one of the greatest things Ian could have ever acknowledged is that they have forgotten the silent majority of casual players. And I had a casual from World of Warcraft respond to me going, dude, I know what the fuck you're talking about. World of Warcraft has a shit ton of casual content. And then he said mounts, pets, transmogs, questing alts. That was his examples for casual content in World of Warcraft being a shit ton. The funny bit of that is every other game has those things and then more. Final Fantasy II have mounts and pets and glam, transmog, right? And you can level alts or alternative jobs at least. But then it also has a shit ton of content that was specifically designed for casual players. You know, it has Bozja, it has Eureka, it has its entire crafting system. Like, they have so many pieces of content that isn't just hand-me-downs from what raiders have already done. It's content that was specifically designed just for them. The housing system is another good example of that. So World of Warcraft players really is like that abused little stepchild that thinks that whenever they get a bowl filled with bread and milk, that is the best that life can ever be. You know, like, that is the best that life can ever be. And what I wish I could tell these little abused kids that play World of Warcraft is you can absolutely get so much more, because so many games out there give casual players so much more. Like, Blizzard really is mistreating their casual player base, and the casuals are defending it. They're sort of going like, no, I have all the content I could ever need. And they say, but you don't. Because the content that you have is the content that used to be hardcore content that the hardcore players no longer care about because Blizzard have produced new content for them. And now you're just sort of getting the hand-me-downs, you know? What we want is actual content that is made for the casual player base. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, sorry. I mean, on top of that, I mean, we have evergreen systems in place anyway. I mean, again, with this idea that we were talking about, I mean, garrisons could be another thing where instead of like being tied to Draenor, could be like act as a hub in other zones that you're progressing. Legion, I forgot what they were called, order halls. They could play a part, certainly.
Oh yeah, the order halls is, look, ultimately, World of Warcraft is a skewed video game. And I think the reason for it is the person that is in charge of World of Warcraft is a hardcore raider. And World of Warcraft, consistently, it's probably the only MMO on the market that literally favors the hardcore. It has almost no casual content that is designed for casuals, and the systems that is introduced into the game is always tied to the hardcore audience. Let's go back. Let's look at BFA. Island Expeditions. Island Expeditions is the perfect example of casual content. It's something for casuals to do. What does Blizzard do? They tie it to hardcore raiders. And then the hardcore raiders are outraged because this is stupid fucking content that they don't enjoy doing because it was never actually meant for them. And then Blizzard goes, well, fuck it, all right. Just add a vendor, add a bunch of cosmetics, leave that to the casuals because, you know, clearly the hardcore raiders didn't want this. Torghast, again, perfect example of casual content. It's tied to the hardcore raiders and the hardcore PvPers for some stupid fucking reason because those are not the people that want to do Torghast, yet it is tied to those players because World of Warcraft consistently caters to the hardcore, not recognizing that the hardcore is an insignificant amount of players. You could have a full-blown casual game and it would be successful. You cannot have a full-blown hardcore game and wish for it to be successful, because hardcore players make usually less than 10% of the entire player base is hardcore. If you look at the amount of raiders that World of Warcraft has, it's 5% of the raiding, of the community of World of Warcraft that actually raids. Mythic Plus is maybe a slightly larger percentage, but still insignificant to the overall player base of World of Warcraft, and yet World of Warcraft time and time again prioritizes their hardcore audience. And to some extent, we have to give praise where praise is due. World of Warcraft as a hardcore game probably is one of the best games on the market. It has phenomenal raids, phenomenal dungeons. The PvP is very decent. So yeah, it works, and the hardcore players really enjoy it. But what about the majority of your players that don't do dungeons and raids? You know, they don't want to play the game that way. What about them? So it's time that Blizzard, you know, Ian sort of said, Ian sort of said, we don't want to do housing because we may have to give up a dungeon or a raid tier. And I don't think anyone wants that. And the more I kept thinking about it, so I don't think you have to. I have a video out that explains how you can so easily do housing without giving up anything. But here's the funny thing. I don't think people would care if you, like, the only people that would jump are the 5%ers. It's the people that log and the people that fucking raid that would care. But that's an insignificant amount of the player base. It's less than 10% of the player base that actually raids and does Mythic Plus. So if World of Warcraft had 6 dungeons rather than 8, and, you know, 2 raids rather than 4, but it had a housing system, surprise, surprise, the majority of the player base would still be fucking happy. Would still be happy because they would finally have their fucking housing system, you know? And they don't raid to begin with. They don't do Mythic Plus to begin with. So them losing a Mythic Plus or a raid tier doesn't matter. I'm sick and tired.
I agree.
Sorry, Sway. You got caught here in me fucking ranting, and that's not the point.
That's all right.
Sorry. Yeah.
It's all right. No, I mean, I agree, man. I mean, it's an evergreen system. You know, there's a point to it. So the second part would be, so all this sort of stuff, would it be feasible to do this alongside dungeon raids, like having the time to play a theme, especially with the retcons and stuff that they seem to have done, like Blizzard? Could be a great way to catch people up, sort of thing, like new players.
I mean, yeah, I personally think, like, I hate this idea that Blizzard have put in people's minds that it's an either-or thing. Because how is it that every other MMO manages to pull things like this off, and Blizzard somehow can't? Like, for some reason, the best that Blizzard can give us is an empty world with barely anything going on in it, 8 dungeons and 4 raids and expansion, and they're swamped. Like, that's it. That's the most they can do. And then you look at a game like Final Fantasy XIV, and it's like they have their raid, then they have an alliance raid, then they have extreme trials, they have their trial system, they have their dungeons, they have their entire MSQ that is just painstakingly written, every single expansion and every single patch. There's a story that is written with all the dialogue in it. They have their deep dungeons, Heavens on High and Palace of the Dead. They have Boja and Eureka. They have so much fucking content. In 6.1 or 6.2, somewhere around now, soon in Endwalker. Is it 7 or is it 6? I can't remember what patch we're on now. But we're getting private islands is becoming a thing. That's being literally introduced now. So they have the housing system, and now they have the private islands coming, right? At some point in 6.x. And it's sort of like, wait, how is every other MMO doing these things without having to give up anything else? But somehow World of Warcraft wouldn't be able to. Somehow it's just not possible for WoW to do more.
I mean, my opinion on that is they've introduced so many things that they just sort of boggled themselves down on what direction they want to go to.
Yeah,
so we end up having to accept what they give us, you know.
Also, the reason, I'm being facetious when I say how is it that Blizzard can't do it, because I know exactly why it is. Because Blizzard seems to want to reinvent the wheel every single expansion, rather than using what you've learned and sort of keep going with it. Every single expansion has to be a brand new game. And you just have to do everything new as if it's never been done before. And it's sort of like, dude, you don't have to. Calm the fuck down, you know? If you're the best at sex, you don't have to continuously try to be better at it. You know, if you're coming and your girlfriend's coming, everyone's fucking happy. You don't have to go like consistently on retreats for 4 months at a time to learn that new fucking sex technique that's gonna make your girlfriend come 0.02 seconds faster than any other time. Your girlfriend is happy, you're happy, everyone's fucking happy. I'm pretty sure your relationship is gonna suffer if you take 4 months off every single year from the relationship because you're, honing your penis skills or some shit like that. There's a point where you have to go, right, we don't have to continuously reinvent the wheel. Let's just keep going because this works. And we know this works because players actually tasted it for us for so many years. And Blizzard is just never doing that. They are just 100% consistently trying to reinvent sex, It's just weird. You don't have to reinvent it the whole time. Just fucking, just stick with what works. So yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I'd be quite happy with if Blizzard took an expansion or two to sort of take a look at the systems that works and people like, and sort of bring it up and keep it as an evergreen thing rather than being like a one and done deal. That's that expansion. Let's move on to the next.
Yes. I mean, the only thing that pissed me off slightly about Blizzard's announcement for Dragonflight was in one of the recent Q&As with Ian Azikostas, where he said, right now we're looking at Dragon Riding really as an expansion-only system. And I was like, dude, stop looking at systems like expansion-only fucking systems. Like, if why would you do this to yourself? Why would you even plan this? If you're gonna spend the entirety of Dragonflight perfecting dragon riding, then absolutely do not retire it by the end of the expansion. It took you an entire expansion to fucking perfect it. Now use it. Expand on it. Give people more ways of dragon riding. Get horse riding a fucking try, and eventually give like mecha riding a try. But keep working on it, because you're wasting developer resources with having these expansion-only systems.
Exactly. Completely agree.
Sway, I can only thank you for the question because it allowed me to rage a little bit, and I really love raging. But I also apologize for the fact that you had to sit here and listen to me rant for 23 minutes.
It's fine because, my questions were more about, the idea, and obviously hearing your side, and obviously needed something. You obviously needed, got pent-up rage to expel.
Yeah. There is a lot of rage of just... Because we've been beta testing World of Warcraft for 6 years now, and it all seems to just be thrown away the whole fucking time. Because now Blizzard wants to go back to the drawing board and go back to what, the basics. And it's like, dude, why? There's so many things that we beta tested for you to perfection, and now you're just throwing it away because you want to go back to basics? Why not make Torghast a permanent thing and keep working on it? You finally have Torghast in a place that most players actually enjoy it. Why not go back to the island expedition system and actually perfect it? You know what? We were speaking about this last night during the Patreon the Patreon podcast. Island expeditions should be the new archaeology profession. You get to an island, there's no markers on the island, there's a bunch of mobs that need to be killed, jumping puzzles, you eventually learn skills. The more islands you sort of go on expeditions to, you will learn skills like throwing your rope around a rock and swinging from one part to the other as you traverse these islands and sort of try to figure out what you're supposed to do on these islands. And then whenever you do kill a boss or you collect something on the island, it gives you like a chance to collect something special, like a special resource. And when you have 10 of these resources, you can actually unlock a sort of treasure island where, say for example, it's just a boss run. You and 2 or 3 of your friends go on this boss run through this treasure island that drops just an insane amount of fucking resources, crafting mats and all sorts of crazy crap. And there's opportunities for mounts to drop and all sorts of shit. But it's a complete archaeology-centric thing, and
yeah, I mean, they could extend that to other professions as well. So enchanting comes to mind. We're going into the Nexus. because it's got like runes and stuff like that, and given how enchanting used to work, could also work with inscriptions because of the whatever things that could work with that.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much that Blizzard needs to revisit and actually pull forward and make part of the world, as it were. And I see someone in chat going, nothing is stopping you from signing up to an island expedition today and go do it. Except for the fact that when's the last time they've added any rewards to that? When's the last time it's received any sort of update? What would be the point of signing up to it now? There's legit no point to signing up to it right now. Nothing. It's dead content. So, yeah. Nothing's stopping you from... Like, oh my god, never mind. Sorry about that.
It's all right. No problem.
But anyways,
thank you for having me on. That is it. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, thank you so much for the question. Really appreciate it, dude. Take care of yourself, man.
Take care, chat.
Peace out, bro.
Peace out.